So the Royal Rumble is this weekend, and I've heard so many people talk about this as far as how this Royal Rumble literally just hasn't felt like a Royal Rumble. Even myself, usually on most years when it is Rumble season, I tend to go back and I tend to watch, old Royal Rumble matches, such as like the Rumble from 2008, such as the Rumble from, the early 2000s. And this year, I really haven't gotten into that because I think, frankly, I think the build for this year's Royal Rumble has really been subpar, and that's a lot of factors going into that. It just feels like they're coasting on the fact of they're going to Saudi Arabia. They're going to make the money regardless of what they build as far as going into this show. And I think a lot of, they just don't want to build because they know that not a lot of people are going to make the trip from the United States over to Saudi Arabia. So they don't really have to sell us as far as, having to potentially go and buy a ticket there. The Royal Rumble is this coming weekend. East Coast time, it's I think 2 p.m. West Coast for me here, it's 11 a.m., which is still very weird to come and see a wrestling pay per view, but also just the Royal Rumble in itself take place that fucking early. It's not something I'm ever gonna get used to. But we have four matches announced for this card, two of which are obviously the men's and the women's Royal Rumble match. And I think it's the best time here to give you my predictions for the Royal Rumble. So we're going to start off here with, I think, probably the most predictable match on this Rumble card, and that is Drew McIntyre against Sami Zayn for the WWE Championship. Of course, a lot of people have predicted Sami Zayn to be challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship, considering this is Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He's insanely over when they go overseas. Obviously, they're telling the story of, Drew McIntyre has all wins against Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn has never beaten Drew, and how poetic it would be if the person that, Sami Zayn finally beat to become WWE champion would be Drew McIntyre. Although I don't see Sami Zayn winning here against Drew McIntyre. I think people have speculated as far as maybe Sami wins for a month and then Drew regains the title back. I don't think that's the case here. I don't think they want this moment as far as Zayn winning his first world title. I don't think that they want to blow it this quickly. Maybe next year at WrestleMania, because WrestleMania next year is in Saudi. Maybe that's where you finally see Sami Zayn crowned the WWE champion or the world champion or whatever it is. But my pick for this match is obviously going to be Drew McIntyre. I think at this point, Drew is probably going to end up walking into WrestleMania as the WWE champion. Next, we have Gunther against AJ Styles, a career-threatening match here for AJ Styles. A lot has been said as far as AJ Styles. He may potentially be retiring as soon as the Royal Rumble. Again, Shinsuke Nakamura, his whole little, post indicates that fact. But again, there's always a possibility they could switch it up here. I don't like the fact of, the retirement being this quick and sudden and being very, I guess, uneventful. Like you didn't give people enough time mentally to prepare for the end of AJ Styles' career. At the very least, Cena had a whole year of preparation for his eventual retirement match. Here, it's kind of just sudden and kind of just thrown together 1 week to the next. And I don't know really why that is. I think honestly how things are looking, it's looking more evident that Gunther is going to beat AJ Styles and AJ Styles is going to retire at the Royal Rumble. Again, they could swerve us, they could throw, us off the scent and have AJ, pick up the win against Gunther. Maybe Gunther gets himself disqualified, or whatever finish they want to run. But I think if I'm a betting man, I'm probably going to go with Gunther to beat AJ Styles here. And, I think this is probably the end for AJ Styles. The Women's Royal Rumble match, I've narrowed it down to a few options here. I really feel strongly about two options in particular. One being Liv Morgan. She just lost the tag team title match against Rhea Ripley and Io Sky this past Saturday night's main event. So that really pushes up her odds a little better as far as her winning the Women's Royal Rumble match. And plus, she's a big name. It'll get a pop there. But I think ideally, what I would want, what I predict, would be Bianca Belair, because Bianca Belair, we haven't seen Bianca since WrestleMania 41 Night 2. That was the last time we saw her in a match, right? The last time I think officially we saw her was at the Evolution PLE, where she was the referee for Jade and Naomi. But I think if Bianca is ready and she's cleared and she's healthy enough to return back, I think that's probably the best option for everybody involved. I think Jade, she's had such a terrible reign, as far as you don't even know what the hell she's doing on SmackDown. And I think the reason they put the title on her is because eventually they're going to run the Jade and Bianca match, which I hope is sooner rather than later, because I don't know what else possibly you could have in store for Jade. Move on to the men's Royal Rumble match. I think there's a lot more options here, a lot more names that possibly could win, but I'm going to narrow it down to a few names here. One being Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, I don't there's no way possible that he isn't involved in a title match this year at WrestleMania. I just don't see how he isn't involved. Whether it's the world title, whether it's the WWE title against Cody or something, I don't not see him not being involved in a match here. We also, and this is kind of like the wild card factor. This is the unexpected, pick that I have here, and that's LA Knight, because LA Knight, we haven't seen LA Knight ever since they, wrote him off, ever since Division, attacked him and wrote him off of television a few weeks ago. And, maybe he returns here. Maybe they actually have the balls and have him, win the Royal Rumble here. Again, it's a far shot. I don't think that's probably going to happen. But if it is, you heard it here first. A Braun Breaker is another pick as far as him actually winning the Royal Rumble. This is before Monday Night Raw, so they're going to have a segment between him and Adam Pearce, which could probably dictate what happens to him at the Royal Rumble. But as far as that, I think Braun has a fair shot as well of winning this entire match, possibly going on to challenge Punk at WrestleMania. Maybe Rollins gets involved, makes it a triple threat. And the most boring option that I think that you probably could run is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, if he wins this Royal Rumble, this is going to be his third time in 4 years winning the Royal Rumble, which is overkill, which is insane overkill, because Cody Rhodes should not be winning the Royal Rumble. I know Cody is a big name and they want to have him in a title match as well at WrestleMania, but there's other ways to get to that. You shouldn't just blow the Royal Rumble on Cody Rhodes once again. You can have him easily win the Chamber. Maybe you have a number one contenders match. Maybe, he factors into Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre. Whatever the case is, you can have him go off and do other things as well. But if I have to narrow down one name as far as who I think is going to win the men's Royal Rumble match, I think it has to be Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns, like I mentioned before, there is no way in hell that he is not doing something of note at WrestleMania. And now that he's in the Royal Rumble match, it's been a few years since I think he's won a Rumble, maybe, a decade plus or something. So I think this is going to be a nice little feather in his cap. Who he goes on to challenge, that could be Punk. I don't know. That could be Punk. And, he wins the world title. I don't really know at this point, but I think your probably likely winners for the Royal Rumble are probably going to be Roman Reigns and Bianca Belair. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of my predictions here. Let me know what your thoughts are as well. And until next time, I will see all of you on the next one.